What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Monday? Going to have a good show talking about a Titans win. Is it Victory Monday? Are we counting this as the first Victory Monday of the Brian Callahan era? The Titans win the preseason opener in Brian Callahan's first game. Will Levis's first game as the de facto starter of the franchise moving forward. 17-13 was the final score at Nissan Stadium over the San Francisco 49ers. Sam was at Nissan Stadium. I was at home watching the game, but a lot of great things to get to as you and Buck had a good reaction little segment on YouTube afterwards that we posted Sunday morning, but a ton to dive into with a drastic improvement that I saw from this Titans team in this new era. Sam, I know you've got your biggest takeaway. We'll get the biggest takeaways from the audience as well and do some rapid fire grades on some of the key talking points to come out of that game. Again, 17-13, the final score. Josh Dobbs threw a Hail Mary as the clock expired, and Juwan Jennings was in street clothes on the sideline. And I was like, if only Juwan Jennings was in there, that might have been a different final score there from the end. But Sam, welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend of football. Let's get into it and get rolling.
Hey, it's nice to have some football games to react to here. It's nice to just kind of see guys in full uniform and pads flying around and watch some football. So we are officially back in football season with the preseason underway and a great reaction to Saturday's Titans win here this morning. Make sure everybody watching at home shares the show to get as many people involved for today's conversation as possible. Share the show on Facebook by hitting the share button in the bottom right corner. Share the show on YouTube by taking the YouTube link and sending it to a Titans fan in your life. Text it to them, text it to that group chat, find somebody who doesn't know about A to Z Sports and let them know, hey, we're talking Titans on a Victory Monday, first Victory Monday of 2024. It's a good time to share the show. Also a good time to hit that thumbs up and like the show before we kick things off on a Monday morning.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans and get a quote today. Save money on your health coverage by following our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. Yes, go ahead and like the show because we need a lot more likes than we already have so far as the Titans win 17-13. Sam, before we go to the post-game press conference, we've been talking vibes a lot this offseason. Oh, the vibes are different. Vibes are high. Vibes are great. Vibes are clean. Vibes feel refreshed. How were the vibes in Nissan Stadium for a game day Saturday night as the Titans and Niners kick things off?
I just feel like, usually this first preseason game, a lot of the vibes match the vibe of the fan base, which is excited to be back. A lot of dudes excited to put on a uniform. You obviously have an entire rookie class that is playing in their first bit of professional football, putting on an NFL jersey and an NFL helmet in an NFL stadium for the very first time. You had guys returning from injury who maybe hadn't played football in a very long time, getting another opportunity. So I think from a player perspective, there was a lot of excitement to just be out there and get back into the swing of the NFL season. And then from a fan perspective, obviously a lot of hype because, unlike the Mike Vrabel era of Titans football, we were getting starters on the field for the Titans. So there was a lot of reason to watch. Like if you were a Titans fan at Nissan Stadium or even a Titans fan back at home this weekend, Austin, you got to see Will Levis with Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley and Tajay Spears in your starting offensive line. And that's exciting stuff. That makes you feel like you're getting a look at what your team might look like this year. So I would say vibes were overall like the first day back at school where everybody starts to look around and it's like, hey, it's nice to be back right now. Most people are healthy. We get back into the swing of things. You get to see your friends again. That's how I felt walking through Nissan Stadium.
Yeah, and you're right. I think getting to see the starters was different from what we've been through the last several years with Mike Vrabel. And All the starters played on offense except for DeAndre Hopkins, who is nursing his sprained knee. You saw, I would say, half of the defensive starters, because there's no Jeffrey Simmons, no Harold Landry. There's no point in them playing the preseason. Brian Callahan continued to say yesterday that they will not play in any of these games, most likely, maybe in that third game a little bit, just to go through the motions. Then there's no Snead, who's doing his injury management. There's no Cheeto, who's injured with a calf. And then Jamal Adams is hopefully be back from a week away of soreness. And then Quandre Diggs, who might be a starter on this defense, is just signed with the team. So did not really do anything on Saturday as well. So about half of the defensive starters. But the Titans were able to win the game. And they gave up an 11-play, 70-so-yard drive on defense in the Niners' first drive. And then Will Levis and his offense went 14 plays and put up 14 points. Had a lot of nice yards and field position because of 2 returns. Kiaris Jackson, 63-yard kick return, and then Jaquan Jackson, the rookie, the first time he touches the football in an NFL stadium, 26-yard punt return, making some nice plays. But Will Levis able to run for a touchdown on a sneak, and then Tyjae Spears able to get a touchdown run there to start the second quarter. And that was enough for the Titans to win the game. It was 17-13 out of field goal late. But here is head coach Brian Callahan after the game talking about why winning is important for them in the preseason.
It all matters to me. I think that there's habits in winning. I think that winning does mean something. I think even in a preseason game, the mood in the locker room is always different when you win versus when you lose. I know it doesn't count for anything in the long run. I'll probably forget about the score of the game and who did what in a year's time, but I do think in the moment these things matter, and I think you're trying to build a winning team and a winning culture, and it validates your work you put in, and so that helps. So anytime you get a chance to go out and compete, you want to win, and I think that's the mindset our guys had tonight, and they played the way that they played, the effort they played with was fantastic, and so again, even though it doesn't count, I'm still happy that we won.
You agree?
Yeah, I mean, do I agree? No, not particularly. I get where Brian Callahan's coming from as the head coach of this football team. I talked to Will Levis and asked him basically the same question and just said, from your perspective, why does winning in the preseason matter? And he brought up a lot of the same things, right? He said, we need to learn how to win. We need to help establish this winning culture and get used to winning. So I get it, right? Winning the game is always better than losing the football game. But the things that matter in the preseason are, how you get there. And one of the things Brian Callahan even said was like, Titans go 13 plays down the field, end up with a 4th and 1 inside the 10-yard line, up 14-7. In a regular season situation, you take the points there, go up 2 scores. But he's playing situational football, so you try to punch it in the end zone, they get stopped, right? Like, the way that you play and call the game is not to win the game. You play and call the game to put your team in as many unique and creative and interesting situations as possible so that you can analyze your team. So, hey, is the win the cherry on the top? Yeah, sure. It's nice to win. It's nice to be able to celebrate. But for me, the only reason it's important to win in a preseason game is because it means your players made enough plays to win the game. Right. And ultimately, that's what we should be looking at here is how did your starters look? How did some of these guys that are hoping to step up and get roster spots as part of your rotations look? And how did you perform situationally? Things like penalties, things like 4th down and 1, operations, turnovers, right? Like how you function as a team matters a lot more to me than the final score. The good news for the Titans on Saturday was that they were kind of on the right side of both of those things. They were able to play pretty clean football and also get the win while having solid performances from their starting offense.
And injury-free after the opening kickoff, which, irony alert, concussion on the new kickoff rule on the first one the Titans did is definitely irony. And that's with Luke Gifford getting concussion after making a big hit on that first kickoff. Now, here's a quick super chat before we dive in and get more from you guys in the chat. Paige said, heard a take that Brian Callahan's first win was classic Vrabel. 50-50 run to pass, got the lead, then ran the clock down with runs. Thoughts? I mean, preseason game, right? Like,
no, but if you're taking it in a vacuum and like looking at this game and this box score, It was exactly a Mike Vrabel game. I mean, it was a perfect Mike Vrabel game. This is not how I expect Brian Callahan to coach at all in the
No.
regular season. But yeah, funny that, it kind of that's the Mike
Also
Vrabel
irony.
recipe.
Yeah.
14 points and 14 offensive plays, and then you spend the rest of the game being like, wow, we still got 14. Like we still haven't added any points to that.
I will say, as the under 38.5 better who got to celebrate that victory on Saturday night, I was totally fine with it. I was a little bit nervous after the first the first 4 possessions of the game created 21 points, and I was kind of shaking my boots a little bit.
I bet the over. I was a little upset. I was like, oh, we're good. 21 points through 4 possessions. And then I looked up like an hour later. I'm like, still 21 points. I don't know what happened.
Just field goals, 4th and 1. And then, hey, the Niners going for that 2-point conversion could have been really interesting there.
Yeah.
Late in the game. All right, so Sam, let's get the chat more involved this morning. And what was your biggest takeaway from the Titans preseason 17-13 win over the Niners? What was your biggest takeaway? We'll get you guys more involved this morning. Really excited to dive in to a lot of different talking points of this game. There's a ton of different potential answers to this question, but biggest takeaway from the Titans win over the Niners Saturday night. But first, all of our training camp long, we've been talking about Smoky Mountain Tops. If you're looking to update your kitchen or bath countertops, call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops, who have been family owned and operated for over 30 years. Smoky Mountain Tops has installed 100,000 plus projects, and that includes Bridgestone Arena and Neyland Stadium. So if you catch that this fall or this winter, you'll see Smoky Mountain Tops work. And Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the luxurious Handstone Pimeo Quartz collection in both studios in Nashville and in Knoxville. Handstone Quartz is known for their quality and exceptional design with over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw your inspiration from. So call Smoky Mountain Tops to schedule an appointment today and see those Handstone Pimeo Quartz. Their phone number right there on the screen, 615-922-6539. SmokyMountainTops.com is the website, and tell them you heard them on A to Z Sports. So, Sam, I'll toss it to you. The chat, I hope, is buzzing as Chance Campbell was on Saturday night. So, what was the biggest takeaway from the Facebook and YouTube and Twitch chat as Saturday night, the Titans win 17-13 at Nissan Stadium?
Derek is all on the first team offense, scoring on both of their possessions. Eric says Malik Willis is the same quarterback that he was before this season.
Ooh, let's put that in our back pocket and talk about that later.
John McDaniel says 14 points in 14 plays. Carpet King Chance Campbell was great. Hill says the special teams standing out with both of those good returns. American Tough says Tavondre Sweat is legit. Joshua Hoffman says Tavondre Sweat commanding double teams. Ty Hauser says Levis looks way more comfortable. Andrew says there is a lack of depth in the running back room. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns for Levis. Offensive line looked better than expected. We've got the run game being fire from Ocho here. The edge is sus from Jake Hughes. Doesn't love their talent at edge rusher. The defense isn't where it needs to be, says Mike Neely. We've got the offensive line big time. The offensive line gave Levis time. The run game looked good from Michael. A pass-first offense and aggressive defense. Tony and Tajay look really good, says Daniel. Willis for QB2, says Courtesy. So we're kind of all over the map here, Austin. And this is why we thought this was an interesting conversation this morning, is what people came away thinking most about that game. What was your biggest takeaway from Saturday night?
Mine was the offensive line and overall just what they were able to do, and not just the starting unit, because Will Levis, I thought, had the one scramble on 3rd down. That was an interesting in-game situation to start your first play from the 15-yard line going in, 1st and 10. But I think the O-line did a really solid job. And that's, when you're talking about the drastic improvement that is in the title of the show today, it's pass protection. The Titans dropped back the throw over 30 times on Saturday night, and there was 1 sack. And Brian Callahan said yesterday that sack was on quarterback Malik Willis. That was a quarterback sack. And even on that 1 sack, Malik almost got out of it. He almost stepped out of it and could have gained some positive yards. He got sacked for like maybe a -1 or 2 gain loss. So I thought the pass protection overall Will Levis looked comfortable and had time to throw. He was able to throw on time. And it wasn't like Levis was holding on to the ball a lot last year. It was the fact that he was getting instant pressure in his face. And then Mason Rudolph had time to throw. Malik Willis had time to throw. We'll talk about Malik a little bit later too. But the pass protection was very strong. And then in the run game, because you saw Tony Pollard rush a couple out of a 24-yard gain and then an 8-yard gain on the ground on that second drive to the right side that we were questioning. I thought the offensive line as a whole looked much improved. And to be honest, I didn't expect them to look that clean based on what we've seen in training camp over the last 3 weeks. But it was a pleasant surprise that no penalties, right, from the O-line, no false starts from Dylan Radunz, no holds from anybody as well. So I think overall the O-line was the biggest takeaway for me because it's just going to get better. Now, I know you're not playing up against Nick Bosa and all the other studs that the Niners have up front, but still, like, it's the first game with a lot of new starters there. I was very pleasantly surprised in the Titans O-line.
Yeah, you're kind of stealing my thunder here. I'm on the Titans offensive line as well, but I'm specifically focused on this starting unit. My biggest takeaway is that the 5 that we saw on Saturday are the starting 5 for the Titans. And I believe that was solidified in the game against San Francisco. There's been a lot of talk during preseason about, hey, who might the right guard be? And the Sadiq Charles retirement really threw a wrench in that. And Dylan Radunz kind of thrown into the fire after Charles retires. Nicholas Petit-Frere, can he win the job back? You know, he came back into camp late with an injury. Seemed like Brian Callahan, Bill Callahan, disappointed with the fact that Nick wasn't back by the start of training camp. So there was a lot of variables there on the offensive line for me. It has felt like it was leaning towards Radunz and NPF throughout the last few weeks of camp. But to then see that group of 5 go out there and, like you said, keep their quarterback upright, clear some really big holes in the run game. They did some really creative things, pulling both guards in the run game, where you've got Peter Skoronski and Dylan Radunz kind of pulling to one side to keep your edge defenders on the edge while they clear off a massive hole for Tony Pollard to run through up the right side.
Right.
I believe this unit is really starting to come together. I think this is the best 5 guys that you have. I think this is your starting 5 week 1. And to me, that became the case watching how things went against San Francisco. So very impressed with them. And then, Austin, I'll go ahead and just add a second thing here because you mentioned no penalties against any of the offensive linemen throughout the game. No penalties at all in the first half for the entire Tennessee Titans team. I believe there is a huge takeaway in that because while preseason football is not exactly most indicative type of football of how good of a team that you possibly are, I do believe this shows, clear communication, clean operations, all very positive signs for Brian Callahan. Everything from Saturday for me, Austin, was a checking the box of Brian Callahan as the Titans head coach. I'll keep going. Another thing I brought up to Brian Callahan on Sunday afternoon at his press conference that I was just curious about. I went and spoke with Jaquan Jackson after the game on Saturday. And I talked to Jaquan about returning a punt and having a lot of big success in the return game and trying to fight and make this roster. And all Jaquan Jackson could talk about was Kearis Jackson, like another return man who is fighting to take his job.
Right.
Like they're probably competing for the same job. And, the Titans have seemed to establish this culture where guys are really happy for one another to succeed, despite the fact that they are competing against one another for spots on an NFL roster. I think all of that is a very good sign for the culture that Ran Carthon and Brian Callahan have started to instill within this organization. Brian Callahan said as much when I asked him about it, that he says, I think it's a good sign for me as a head coach that you've got the right makeup of guys in here and that we've established a strong culture. But those were some of the things that I came away feeling like you just had a football team that had an offensive line protect your quarterback, not get penalized. Your whole team played very clean football. The sideline was energetic and into the game, and everybody's rooting for each other.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up from me in terms of the vibes around the Titans 1 week into the preseason.
Without a doubt, it definitely carried over to what it's felt like in the building around training camp everywhere. So I want to go back to the offensive line because I had some comments that I saw from some of you guys that from our reaction. So I did see some people say that, Dre says that Buck disagreed on the O-line, and then Jared, Botox Buck, shout out to Botox Buck, doesn't think Radunz will be the starting right guard. So look, I mean, I don't think I'm not trying to sit up here and say that the offensive line was phenomenal, but they weren't just the obvious issue. Like, we've watched so many Titans
I thought they
games.
were really solid.
I think they were
solid.
for it. Like, there are 3 new starters, like new to the team. Well, I guess Dylan Radunz is kind of not new. So 2 new to the team starters in Cushenberry and JC Latham, a second-year guy in Skronsky, a guy who hasn't really played much at all in Dylan Radunz, and then NPF, who just got back healthy a week ago, that went out there and played really well together. And it's not like Dylan Radunz was getting a lot of first-team reps when Sadiq Charles was here. So I think the fact that they were able to put it all together and communicate that well and not be a detriment to the team. That's the problem, is the previous 32 games we've watched this Titans offensive line play in the regular season, they've been the detriment to the team, where it's like you can't get anything accomplished because you can't get started. And you have holds, you have false starts. How many times did we see Mike Vrabel football teams the last 2 years have a 1st and 15 situation where, well, this drive's over because there's nothing they can get done? Or maybe they gain 6 yards in a Derrick Henry first down carry, then Dylan Radunz has a false start or somebody else does something stupid on the O-line. Now it's 2nd and 9. And now it's really screwed because they just wasted the Derrick Henry run. And so that's where I'm like, okay, the O-line was not a detriment, and they were solid, and they're just going to get better because they're all young. Minus Lloyd Cushenberry, they're all very young. Lloyd's 26. And so I think it's a positive thing to look at. And as far as right guard and Dylan Radunz, I know Rupchich was the highest graded offensive lineman according to Pro Football Focus. I don't know how that happens or what Pro Football Focus's thing is. And they've gotten better recently with how they do grades, but they still don't know the assignments for anything. So, but Rupchich has been getting a lot of positive feedback from coaches, and he's been getting more and more reps. So we'll see if Rupchich is the one guy who can create a spot for himself on the O-line that's not already established.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just think we need to put everything into perspective a little bit. I had a conversation that I thought was really just a good analogy when I was talking with Nick Suss of the Tennessean during the game, I believe around halftime. And we were kind of discussing, number one, Jack Gibbons, who Titans fans have loved just like coming after for whatever reason. He's a guy that they are not wanting to see start at inside linebacker, despite the fact that he's very clearly, to me, the second best inside linebacker on the team. They like coming after Dylan Radunz as well, and like all these areas that Dylan Radunz needs to improve. And Nick and I were kind of talking about like complaining about Dylan Radunz as your right guard is like complaining that your 9-hole hitting second baseman is hitting 250 with 4 home runs. And you're sitting there being like, why is he not hitting 300 with 25 home runs and 25 stolen bases? Like, not everybody on the team is going to be like all pro, like studs all the way around. Like, there are roles that players play in a defense or an offense or an offensive line. There are skill sets that are different from one another. And sometimes there are guys that start on your football team that are just fine, that are just average starters and are okay starters. And that's okay. We don't need to sit here and be like, well, this guy's not on the same caliber. Is Radunz probably the weakest starter on your offensive line? Yes. Does that mean it's a problem that needs to be fixed before week 1? I don't think so. I think you're totally fine if you're the Tennessee Titans and Dylan Radunz is starting at right guard for you week 1. I think there is a lot of room for him to grow, starting and focusing primarily at playing inside and working with this unit and working with Bill Callahan as his offensive line coach. And I think what we've seen from him right now is serviceable. And that's like, really, we're asking for more out of out of Dylan Radunz. I mean, I thought Daniel Brunskill was relatively serviceable at right guard last year for the Titans. And Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan like Radunz more than they like Brunskill. So,
and if I'll throw Jack Gibbons in the mix, if your right guard and your second inside linebacker are the worst starters on your
that's
units,
what Nick and I are talking about. We're getting too picky over a second inside linebacker and a right guard when they're not the most important positions on the team, and both of the guys there are serviceable and just have some flaws in their game, sure.
But they provide other values, right? Like Dylan Radunz, like I think like somebody says, why are you going to dump on Dylan Radunz as he keeps improving? Like, let's just remember Dylan Radunz. Like, has he been a disappointment as a second round pick? Yeah, absolutely. That's never going to go away. Like, unless he just completely turns it around and it becomes.
I don't know if I agree with that. As
a what?
I'm not sure I would agree with the statement that Dylan Radunz has been a disappointment. I think if you are disappointed,
he was a very high second round pick that has done very little.
I think sure, but I mean he has started football games and played football throughout the entirety of his NFL career. Austin, I don't know. Like, I think expectations are probably too high for Dylan Radunz. If you expected him to be this, like, consistently.
He was the whole picture of Dylan Radunz. He was a reach in the second round coming out of college in North Dakota State, where he did not play his last year because of COVID, shut down that entire game league after one game. And then here's the other thing, too, because, like, you're not wrong. He has played a lot of games and started games for the Titans over the last several years. But the Titans have he wasn't able to win a starting job at right tackle over NPF when NPF was a rookie. So that, I think, is where things really started to hate on Dylan Radunz. But he's also been asked to play 4 different positions last year after coming off of an ACL tear that he worked his ass off to get back from really quickly. And so I think you have to give props. Like, I think Dylan Radunz deserves a chance to earn your respect for how he's approached the last 2 seasons. That is the point I want to make.
Like, Radunz, it's not even the fact that he was asked to play multiple positions. It's the fact that he has been asked to play everywhere from left tackle to left guard to right tackle over the course of a season.
And
even
now
last
right
year, looking at Dylan Radunz last year, weeks 10 and 11, he played 50 snaps at left tackle. Weeks 2 through 4, he played over 50 snaps at left guard. Week 9, in the middle of there, he played right tackle. Week 10, he moved back to right guard and then finished the year at right tackle. He has been bounced all over the map. And that is where I kind of come back to, like, expectations versus reality. I think if you had the expectation that Dylan Radunz as a second round pick was going to be a franchise tackle for you and a locked-in starter at tackle, I think your expectations for Dylan Radunz were too high, especially, as you said, as somebody who is coming from North Dakota State, not playing a ton of football. Like, if you were a Titans fan that said, oh, we've got a starting left tackle or starting right tackle in the league for the next 5 to 10 years, you know, you did that to yourself. You played yourself, setting those expectations really high.
Yeah, for sure.
But Dylan Radunz has given the Titans a versatile, athletic offensive lineman that they've been able to plug in 4 different spots and at least have him play relatively serviceable football. He's had some really bad games in there. He's had some good games in there. And now I think that he has one position to focus on. It's going to help him a ton.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, if Dylan Radunz has a really good year at right guard this year for the Titans, I'm not saying he's a disappointment of a second round pick. I'm not ready to go there yet.
I think to this point, he has been a disappointment because he didn't win the right tackle job when it was right there for him to win. And a rookie third down guy.
NPF was a third round pick too. I mean, he wasn't a slouch.
To move forward, my overall point is that I think Titans fans should respect Dylan Radunz for how he's approached the last 2 years.
Absolutely,
because all the things that you just said about last season, and he came off of an ACL tear and was able to do those things. And now this year, he's looking to start at the position out of 4 that he played the least of last year, which is just crazy. So, all right, let's keep on moving forward from Dylan Radunz. I did want to make a point about the kick return spot because you brought that up of what Kiaris and Jaquan did and how they were excited for each other, but they're fighting for the right spot. I know you're working on an article that's going to come out on A to Z Sports later today. But this return man situation is going to have a massive domino effect on position battles on this roster. And I don't know what they're going to do, because we'll look at the depth chart, right? Let's go back to the depth chart that we had right here, right? The starters punt return, Mason Kinsey did not return a punt on Saturday night. Kearis Jackson's the backup. Kyle Phillips the third. Jaquan Jackson took those punt return reps, and he's not even listed on the top 3. Kickoff return, Tajay didn't do it, and Kearis Jackson's right there. So I think the interesting thing about punt return is Tajay going to do it? We've seen Traylon Burks doing it in practice and training camp.
Kick return.
Kick return. Is Tajay going to do it? Is Burks going to do it? And then how many wide receivers do you keep? Because the 2 guys, the action Jacksons that we saw on Saturday night look pretty damn good doing it. But if you're keeping both of those guys, you're cutting some wide receivers that are pretty good. And that means that's 7 receivers.
Yeah, you're not keeping both of those guys, I don't think.
I wouldn't think so. But
yeah, I mean, the other problem here too, Austin, is Kearis Jackson might be the worst receiver on the roster right now. Like he is below. I would put Mason Kinsey. I would put Kyle Phillips. I would put Jaquan Jackson, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Tyler Boyd, Traylon Burks, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre
Bryce
Hopkins,
Oliver.
maybe Bryce Oliver ahead
Yes,
of Kearis Jackson as terms of like wide receiver ability. And so he's had a really bad camp as a wide receiver, to the point that I had kind of written Kearis Jackson off. You obviously can't write him off when he does things like that in the kick return game. But the question that the Titans are going to be asked at a lot of these different position battles is, where does the special teams impact get weighed in terms compared to offensive output? And can somebody like Tajay Spears, who you know is going to be on this roster and a part of your offense, can he be your kick returner? If you feel like Tajay is your kick returner, you don't really need to keep Kearis Jackson. Jaquan Jackson, he returned your punt. Is he viewed as the top punt returner, or was he just getting those looks on Saturday because you didn't want to throw Mason Kinsey back there? Or I don't know. Is the depth chart inaccurate? How do they view that position battle right now? And then if, let's say, Mason Kinsey, I would say up to this point, has probably had the best camp of those slot option receivers, Phillips, Jaquan Jackson, Kinsey. Kinsey's been the most involved in offensive opportunity, right? If he's your second best offensive slot option, but Jaquan Jackson's the better punt returner, the more explosive punt returner, do you value the punt return? Do you value the slot? And you know, if they both can do both, you know, which one do you value more? It is a very interesting conversation.
I still think Jaquan Jackson has an edge because of some specialty things they want to do with Jaquan Jackson on offense. And that's kind of where I think
specialty things. How though? Like, I mean,
I can't say them, Sam.
At all.
It's the same reason we had to delete a video that was going to go viral last week. Is the same.
I don't know if there's anything they want to do with Jaquan Jackson they can't do.
I've seen them do things with Jaquan Jackson in practice that have not been done with any other wide receiver in practice. Like 2 different things that I'm not going to go further on.
Okay.
Because I'm not allowed to.
All right, well, let's talk about it then.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it offline, just to tease you guys even more. All right, so let's do some rapid fire grades, because I think we could talk return man all day long, because that is a fascinating thing of what this is going to happen. And Sam, you'll have your article coming out a little bit later, but we're going to go through rapid fire game grades, and we're going to start with quarterback Will Levis. So we'll go back to the top and figure out, how would you grade Will Levis? So we'll get to that here in a second. How would you grade Will Levis in his performance on Saturday night? But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your injury needs. The Titans stayed relatively healthy minus a concussion on Saturday. You can get back to health with the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Make sure you go check them out, and their website is boneandjointtn.org. It's very easy to book an appointment because you just go to that website, you click on book an appointment, you type in what's bothering you. It sorts the experts in that field that deal with those type of injuries, and you find the calendar that fits your schedule. Right there, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Look, they always say Vegas always knows. BetMGM always knows what's up, because they've got bonus codes like ATOZ Sports, where you can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. You place that first bet with the bonus code ATOZ Sports, and up to $1,500, whatever that first bet wager amount is, goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet if your bet loses. That's the way to do sports betting. So get with the sportsbook. Born in Vegas, it's BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, Sam. So we're going to go through some rapid grades from the game Saturday night. We're going to start with Will Levis. He was 4 of 5 passing for 35 yards, an average of 7 yards per attempt, 0 sacks. He also ran the ball twice for a total of 3 yards and punched it in on the quarterback sneak. So those are the numbers on Will Levis. What are the letters on Will Levis? Grading the Titans quarterback in 14 plays of action, where he threw the ball 5 times, ran the ball twice, then handed the ball off to somebody else another 7 times. Sam, what are you seeing from the chat real quick?
Billy Jones has an A, Guy has a B+, and then it's a lot of B here. Lewis, Kicks Good, Gene, American Toff, Rashid, Lane, Willie, DeMarco, IR Hoshi, JR with a B, Curtis with a B, Amar, Ramon, Chris says A-, Xavier says A. We got a B+ from Eric, a B from Jill. So some good grades from the chat for Will Levis with a B. Austin, I think that's the right letter. I think that is the right thing here. Will Levis was solid. Nothing amazing. Nothing to write home about. Didn't do very good. Like, that made me go, oh, Will Levis looks good today. Didn't do anything bad. That made me think Will Levis doesn't look good today. So he got in there. He operated fine. Your offense was effective, mostly because of the run game and what they were able to do with Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. So a nice B to Will Levis. You could knock him to a B- if you really wanted to. Just one little letter ticked down as a penalty for taking an unnecessary hit inside the 5-yard line. But yeah, I was happy with what Will did. And, you know, you also have to keep in mind the Titans are not going to empty the bag and really let Will Levis air it out like they will in the regular season. He's a bit limited in the play calling and the things that they're asking him to do, because we got regular season games and we got to keep some of this new offense under wraps.
So I'm going to go higher than that. I think it's a B+, and I'm going to knock him a half a letter grade for the hit too, because I think Will Levis gets actually graded better for throwing the check down throws because that's not his MO. Like, I think you have to give him that credit because Will Levis, we know, is prone to force it down the field, put it in tight coverage, throw it in traffic, and he made the right decisions. And I think his only incompletion was the fade route to Ridley, who got knocked off his route at the line of scrimmage. It was a good play by the defender, and it's a timing throw. Like, Levis catches the snap, knows he's just going to throw it regardless of what happens with Ridley on the outside. I think it was think about this. Will Levis takes the ball over. He's got 1st and 10 at the 15-yard line going to score. They run the ball twice, and they set up a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 right there. He hasn't thrown the football yet in a game, and he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders to lead this team. It's a 3rd and 4 at like the 10-yard line on the first drive. No warming up, no just easy throw. You've got a 3rd down and got to convert. And if you kick a field goal there, people are like, oh God, you know, like if they kicked a field goal on that, people are like, oh, you got to be like 60-yard return plus a 15-yard penalty from the Niners coaching staff. You're kicking a field goal. Like, it's the same energy as Amani Hooker recovering the opening fumble kickoff from the Saints. And then they got a false start. And then they kick a field goal to up 3-0 and lose in week 1. But the fact that he converted the 3rd down and it was a throw to Tajay Spears, the right decision, the right throw, the right timing, 1st and goal Titans, and they score a touchdown, I think Levis gets a lot of credit for that moment because there's more pressure on that moment because of the situation. And he made the right check down throws. I think he gets credit for that. So I'm going to say B+. He ran in the touchdown. He knocked him a half a letter because he did take the shoulder hit, which was dumb and unnecessary. But still, I think Will Levis was very good.
Very good. We would say very good.
For playing 14 snaps?
Sure. I mean, I think he was solid. Like, I think he was fine. He didn't do anything that was like, I was like, oh, Levis looking very good.
Yeah, but like he threw the ball 5 times, but he made the right decisions. And like,
sure.
I am looking for Will Levis to make the correct decisions. And 5 times out of 5 times throwing the football, he made the right decision.
Yeah, I agree with Curtis here. The word I would use is just solid. I thought he was solid, but hey, I'll take solid in the preseason right now. I will take solid 10 days a week in the regular season too, man. Like, give me solid all the time. There aren't many guys that come out and play solid every Sunday. So, it was a good day for Will Levis.
It was absolutely a good day. Let's see. Noah with the super chat says, took Will a bit long to get through the reads and hit the check down. Would like to see that a second faster. Good O-line for giving him the time though. But I think that's the way the offense is designed though, right? Because they've talked about this a lot, that the correct answer to the test should be fairly easy. And Will Levis made the correct answer 5 times out of 5 times. So there's the super chat there from Noah. So let's keep on rolling here with a little bit of rapid fire grades. The next guy we're going to talk about is T'Vondre Sweat. T'Vondre Sweat, before we get to his grade, want to hear from Brian Callahan again. So how would you grade T'Vondre Sweat, who played 12 snaps on defense? So here's Brian Callahan on the Titans' second round pick.
It was good. I think there was same thing. I think he was nervous to start the game. He's kind of settled down a little bit as it went on. I mean, he was active, but just didn't see that. Didn't make any splash plays or anything. But kind of rotated him through, and I think it was good for him to feel, that everybody in the NFL is big and strong, and he's going to have to do a lot of things technically that need to get improved. And so that part was good for him. It was a good learning experience for him. But you still felt him. He still took up double teams. He still disrupted the line of scrimmage. He can hold the point of attack, and that was all good things to see. So. Positive first starts, playing to clean up for him as well.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, so grading T'Vondre Sweat, I'm curious to see what the chat's going to say on this, because he didn't do anything that really popped in
no
12
splash
snaps.
plays, like Callahan said.
Right. So, Sam, what are people saying about Sweat?
We're a little bit more all over the place here with Sweat. We got a B from Mario, an A- from Kicks Good, a D from Lewis, an A from Vanessa, an A from American Toff. We got B, B-, B, C, A from IR Hoshi, C from Jared, C+ from Guy. We've got a C from Stevie, a B from Martin, D- from Quay. We got a C from Jerome, C+ from DeMarco, B from Sean, C, B, C+, D+, B+, C. All over the map, Austin. We got stuff from A all the way to D. So where do you fall on this spectrum? T'Vondre Sweat's preseason week 1 performance.
It's tough because you can't really grade a defensive tackle on 12 snaps. It's difficult because that's like
Sweat is the kind of guy too that we've talked about before. Sometimes his impact is not something that shows up on a stat sheet or something that you feel in a splash play. Like Brian Callahan said, part of what I love about Sweat, part of why I was so excited when the Titans drafted him and a big fan of his game, is literally because I believe T'Vondre Sweat has value just by existing on your defensive line, because he is somebody that you feel. He's somebody that can cover 2 run gaps standing there because of how wide and big he is. He'll be in the B and the C gap at the same time. He'll take on a double team. He makes a defense think about him.
Yeah.
And as Curtis says, he keeps linebackers clean in a Denard Wilson defense that's all about getting downhill and getting into the backfield and thumping on some running backs and making plays. So T'Vondre Sweat is a guy that you might look at a 15, 20, 25 snap game and say, he didn't really do a ton. But then if you really dive into it, like how many times is T'Vondre Sweat setting up one of his teammates to make a play? I don't know if we'll fully see that until he's next to Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry, and he's got some of these starters with him that you really realize how impactful Sweat can be. So I do believe this preseason is a bit of a convoluted argument when you're trying to look at, let's grade this guy who it's a very complex sort of test, right? If we're looking at it, test grades, Will Levis is a math test. Right answer, wrong answer. T'Vondre Sweat is a philosophy test.
He's an English essay.
English essay. And it's all kind of subjective. And, it's like...
I'm with you. And so DeMarco, I called T'Vondre Sweat a disruptor on Friday. And I think DeMarco is correct. And there's two disruptors, and the fact that they have Big Jeff and Sweat in the middle. So, but I did not see Sweat disrupt much, but he did what I expected the Niners to do towards him. People are saying in the chat that he was double teamed on 5 of the 12 snaps. I felt like it was more than that. A couple of times they just flat out ran away from him, so he didn't need a double team. He's not going to be somebody that's going to chase down a backside, a run from the backside. I don't think that often, but I give T'Vondre Sweat, I kind of want to say a B-, I think, because like I'm not upset at it. Like I'm not like disappointed, and I think neither is Brian Callahan. I think the fact that he didn't play with the power that I wanted to see him play with. And I think that's what Callahan meant, just my interpretation of Callahan saying, seemed a little nervous. Like some of the guys seemed a little nervous. Like he didn't fully unleash his full ability or full strength and power on the offensive line like we've seen in practice. Like we've seen the one-on-one drills where he's folding over whoever's in front of him because that's the drill. Like I think there was a little bit too much of like being cautious and like hesitation to where he was not firing off the football and using all of that power that we've seen him do in practice because he's now comfortable in practice. So I think maybe next game he's going to be more comfortable, less nervous, and then let some of that extra energy go.
Yeah, I'm on, man, I was back and forth, C+, B-,
Same.
but T Sweat's my guy, so I'll bump him up and give him a B- here on grading on a little bit of a curve. I think, yeah.
The favoritism curve?
Yeah, the favoritism curve. That's what it is.
Every teacher does it.
You're right, yeah. Sweat's the teacher's pet, so he gets a B- instead of a B+. But yeah, I mean, he didn't make any. I love the word splash play that Brian Callahan used. I don't think there was one of those, but I don't think splash play, as we just talked about, is indicative of a bad day for T'Vondre Sweat. So I didn't come away disappointed at all either. And so I'll say he was above average. I'll give him a nice B-.
Yeah, for sure. All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Monday. Make sure you hit that like button, by the way. Hit that like button because King VC right here says, I'm back. Lock in, like the show. I like the super chats so far. You can tell it's a game has been played. So you get some super chat activity. So like the show for us, please, on Facebook and on YouTube. We're going to go through some more rapid fire grades here in a second, including who is probably the star of the game. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you save money and get better coverage with your health plan. Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/ATOZ. If you watch the Titans game on TV or listen to it on Titans radio, you heard a lot about Farm Bureau Health Plans, and they've been the same thing for us for the last 3 years. They've been serving Tennesseans for over 78 years across the entire state. So get what you deserve. That is the right health coverage, the right plan for you and your family situation. And also save money while doing it. And I've been telling you guys, I've had 2 people do it already. DM me on Twitter, and I'll give you a shortcut to Farm Bureau Health Plans. That's DM me on Twitter, Austin Stanley 81. I'll give you the direct email contact to sign up or to get started with Farm Bureau Health Plans with cutting some steps. So check them out online with our link, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks and the sportsbook born in Vegas. Here, use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM. Get up to $1,500 back in your account in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses. And we're back. No runs first inning. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We know that I've been cooking. Like, this is a known fact at this point. And I'm going to look. I had 2 plays, but I'm going to give you guys one and simplify. We're going to Cleveland. Cubs at Guardians. Shota Imanaga against Ben Lively. Ben Lively has a 0.90 ERA this year with an opposing batting average under 100 in the first inning. The guy comes out hot all the time. We know what Shota can do against really anybody in the league. So I'm on Cubs Guardians. No runs first inning with 2 pretty solid starting pitchers. I don't think it'll be too juiced. We'll be okay there. So that's the play today on BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and other requirements. First online money wager. Only rewards issued non-total bonus bets expiring 7 days. And for problem game sport, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. Okay, let's go ahead and continue our rapid fire grades. So we talked a lot about the offensive line early. That was both of our biggest takeaway. So let's just Do you want to grade the offensive line the whole game, or do you want to grade the first unit?
Let's grade the first unit.
Okay, the first unit. So how would you grade the first unit of the offensive line? The starters: Latham from left to right, Latham, Skoronski, Cushenberry, Radunz, and NPF. So the first unit of the offensive line that played 14 snaps, 14 points, had great field position, starting from the 15-yard line to go in. Then I put the full drive together. While the grades come in, I will say I'm glad that Brian Callahan let Will Levis and the first team play a full drive because of the situation of the kickoff return by Kyaris Jackson plus the penalty. So we got to see some real, situations that they wanted to be in. So some grades coming in from the O-line. Sam, what are you seeing from the chat?
A B from Chris Frazier, C from Lou, an A from Kick is good, B plus from Eric, B plus, B minus, A minus from John McDaniels, A minus from Daniel. We got a B plus, another B plus from Guy, B minus, B, A minus, C plus, B, and a note that, hey, no sacks. B plus from Ira Hoshi, an A from Billy Jones. First unit gets an A minus overall from Christian. Vanessa says Latham gets an A plus. Darius says an A minus for the whole unit. A B from Mario, an A minus from Tara, a B minus from Jamar. I think the chat, there was a handful of people in the chat that I think were on my grade, which is A minus. We are in the A's with this offensive line. Look, you clear some big run holes, you keep your quarterback upright, you don't get penalized. I'm 2 thumbs up. So I was very pleased, impressed even for most of the time with the Titans starting offensive line. I think it was a very good day for them. There's a lot to be encouraged by. Maybe a thing to clean up here or there, but you know what? Overall, not a bad day at work. And if you can go through an entire quarter without taking a penalty and without allowing a sack, you have my approval. That'll play all the damn time.
Yeah, I think A minus is the right way to go with this because, what they did on that second drive was impressive. And I know they had, was it Tajay that had a -6-yard toss on that to create a 3rd and 10?
Yeah.
The 3rd and 10 situation where that's when Levis hit Ridley. I mean, Levis had so much time. Like you're thinking 3rd and 10. Oh God. Like I said earlier, drive's over. But
Pin your ears back. They're going to come get him. Offensive line's not going to give him a ton of time. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I really like that, how they were able to do that. And then you saw that build from there because it was confidence right after that 3rd and 10 completion for Ridley, catch and run for 22. The next play, it was Tony Pollard for 8 yards. Then the next play after that, Tony Pollard for 24 back-to-back. And then Tajay throw it for a quick short one. And then they punch it in right there for a touchdown after the penalty. And that's another thing too. Like they drew an encroachment. They drew an offsides penalty too. So hard count from Levis, O-line, Dylan Radunz stay still. And they got an extra free 4 yards out of that. So I think A minus is the right way to go. So especially with some nerves out there, there were a couple plays that weren't the prettiest, but overall you got to be pleased with what the offensive line was able to do. No penalties, no sacks allowed, no real pressures, and creating some good running holes there. So you like that. So I think A minus is the right way to go. Now let's get to who I think was the star of the game, and that is Chance Campbell. How would you grade Chance Campbell's performance? I'll go back and read his numbers here in a second because the guy had the game-winning interception, also had a sack, and I believe led the Titans with 8 total tackles on the night, 9 total tackles, 5 of them solo with the 1 sack and the INT, plus an extra quarterback hit. It wasn't even the sack. Chance Campbell, I think, really opened up a lot of eyes last night, which is a great thing. So how would you grade Chance Campbell's night?
I think he's an A. I think he did himself a lot of favors. Inside linebacker, very competitive behind your starters. Kenneth Murray and Jack Gibbons are the starters at inside linebacker. The question is, where does kind of the depth fall in that room? I think Chance Campbell, with Luke Gifford hurt, with JoJo Doman hurt, with Cedric Gray hurt, did a lot to help himself on Saturday night. So he probably, to me right now, is your linebacker 3, your inside linebacker 3. And, for a guy who really hasn't been able to stay healthy so far throughout his NFL career, it was a really good day for him. He was flying all over the place in the run game, led the team in tackles. He had, that sack where I think he showed off his speed blitzing from the inside linebacker position. And that to me stood out because it is going to be what his job is in Denard Wilson's defense. Like, I think we're going to see a lot of those linebacker blitzes with Kenneth Murray, blitzing the quarterback and how Denard schemes that up. But if Campbell is the inside linebacker 3, maybe he's the backup to Murray. He showed his ability to do that, get after the quarterback, delivered a nice big hit on a quarterback and finished the play. You probably want to bat down that interception at the end of the game, but we'll take it for the stat padding purposes. It was everything that you look for in a preseason game. One of these depth roster guys that really makes an announcement very loud and clear. I belong on this football team and I deserve a chance to play. So credit to Chance Campbell and good job.
And Chance Campbell's been making plays in camp too. And he's been making plays as a cover
and that's
guy.
the other thing, right? That's the thing that I say too, right? What you look for in a preseason game, a guy like Chance Campbell who has had a good camp carries it over into a game and says, this is not some fluke because we're at St. Thomas Sports Park going against our own unit and we have the offensive script, that I'm actually a player and I'm all over the place here. So
yeah, if there's a player that deserves an A+ on this roster from Saturday's game, then it is Chance Campbell. I don't know if it was an A+. I don't know the positions. I don't know his job assignments for all snaps. He played 45 snaps, which was the most of any player on the team. So he had a lot of opportunity, but Chance Campbell deserves an A from me. And so let's hear from Brian Callahan, who talked about Chance Campbell and then a bunch of those other linebackers that were able to play because Gifford got hurt. There's already another injury from the Titans practice.
Wallow's out for the year.
Wallow's out for the year, right? Cedric Gray was out for this game too. So here is Callahan on all these other inside linebackers inside and Chance Campbell.
Yeah, excited about those guys. I think it was a great outing for Chance. You saw his confidence kind of start to bloom, and that's a good thing. He played loose and fast and aggressive, all the things we want to see from those guys. Otis did as well. I mean, those guys both had a really nice game, I thought. And they're getting opportunities, and so when you get opportunities, you got to make the most of them. And I think to their credit, they have. And James, I don't think James even knows how good he could be yet. He's still learning the position as a converted safety. But he's got some things that he flashes that are really impressive, and so that's a battle. There's some battles going on back in that back of the linebacker room, and they're taking advantage. All of them have taken advantage of increased opportunity because of the injuries that have occurred, and I'm really happy that they have.
That's another position group that's going to be really interesting, Austin, because like I said, I think Chance Campbell is very clearly the inside linebacker 3 right now. How much does special teams matter? Brian Callahan's talked about your 4th, 5th linebacker if you keep 5, right? Those are special team spots. And so a guy like James Williams maybe has a leg up there as somebody with a lot of speed as a converted safety. Luke Gifford, we know if he can get healthy, is a special teams specialist. That's what he does. And he got hurt on the opening kickoff because he made a play on the opening kickoff.
It was pretty sick.
I mean, that's what Luke Gifford does. So I think, I've seen a lot of Otis Reese love, and Otis Reese to me is inside linebacker 6 right now. I think he's got a long way to go before he's making this team. He just is not involved whatsoever in camp at all.
But he had a good game. But he did have a good game. And that's good.
Have a good game. And so my biggest thing I'm curious for, right? We know Cedric Gray as well. They're not going to cut Cedric Gray. He's a 4th round pick. They're going to, he's got a lot of room to grow still, but they're going to keep Cedric Gray. So now it's you're talking about Gray, Campbell, Gibbons, Murray, maybe one other linebacker with Gifford and, James Williams and Otis Reese and what you're doing there. So that's kind of where I'm at on that position group. I'm curious to see, right? Otis has not been involved at all in camp, which tells you he's on the outside looking in. Probably not going to make the team. Has a very good game against the 49ers.
Made the play for Chance Campbell to make the sack, by the way.
Right,
Otis Reese took up the running back pass protection, and Campbell slid right by him.
So now, right, Otis has had this good game. where does he fall in the rotation in joint practices against the Seahawks? Where, like, is Otis involved in your defensive rotations? Even if it's with the second or third team defense, like, is he involved? That's a big question because I'm curious to see, one good game. Did Brian Callahan chalk it up and say, hey, Otis played well today? Or does it actually warrant more opportunity that then you have to sit there and reassess where Otis is in like this linebacker hierarchy right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So like, look, I think it's a good thing that they've got some bodies because you can put an Otis Reese in the practice squad and maybe call him up on game day if he's a really active, good special teams player, maybe, right? A couple times in a year, depending on what happens. I think Chance Campbell, I don't want to overreact too much, but Chance Campbell may be the best cover linebacker the Titans currently have.
I'm not sure I'm ready to say that, but maybe.
Well,
I think it's fair to say maybe.
Gibbons is not his strong suit. That's not Kenneth Murray's strong suit either. Cedric Gray, we haven't seen enough of.
Yeah.
Blue Gifford's a special teams guy for a reason, so almost by default, because we've seen him make plays in practice deep down in coverage too. So it's not saying a lot that Chance Campbell's the best coverage linebacker they have, and then Jody throws in a joke. No, Jamal Adams is the best coverage linebacker for the Seahawks there. All right. So, Sam, another super chat real quick before we get to the age game to wrap up this Monday show. Been a really good show. Make sure you hit that like button too. If you're still watching on Facebook and YouTube, we need more likes. It goes a long way for us. Paige, second super chat of the day. Looking across the NFL's preseason games after the first look, have your predictions changed on the Titans' win versus loss ratio or still too soon? Way too soon for me. I don't even know I guess I did. Jack and I, after the schedule came out, made an official the first win-loss projection, but I don't even remember what I picked. I think I picked maybe 9-8. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember specifically. I did have it on a back of an envelope, but I think that got tossed. So I think I said 9-8, but I honestly can't say. But yeah, way too soon to adjust anything there from Paige.
I think it's too soon as well. I think this is a big week with joint practices and then another preseason game against the Seahawks. The good news is that we're probably getting the starters in all three preseason games, at least two preseason games. We should be getting another look at this first team offense and first team defense. So, might change some things as we get a feeling for the vibes and how things actually look against the team that's not your own. But right now, it's a little too soon for me to change anything, and I don't even know if I've made a prediction. But
you have not.
It would be too early for me if I did make one.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule comes out.
I can't wait for that show that we get to make our predictions because we've been sitting on it for a while now.
Yes. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap up this Monday. We're gonna have continued coverage of the preseason game. Buck will be later tonight, and Jack and I will take over tomorrow to get his thoughts on it. But now it's time for the age game for me to get on the damn board. But first, Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon, say hey to Pain Bone for us while you're there, or hit them up online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Sam, I have the chat hidden. It is now time for the age game. There has been a 3-time winner for the age game, and I believe that was Titans Kyle last week was able to be the first 3 times winner. We haven't gotten an updated board, but we do have the updated.
We need to get on Zach for that updated.
Yeah,
board,
Zach. I'm talking to Zach after the show today, so maybe I'll have him throw us an updated board there. But Sam, let me have it. I have to somehow get a win, right? I got to get off the schneid here. I'm like 0 for 47.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the deal. Last night, I was sitting around wrapping up my evening, and Austin, I'm in this new phase, call it, of entertainment where I find it entertaining to watch people watch movies for the first time.
What?
It's like like people put YouTube videos out there where it's like reacting to this classic movie for the first time, reacting to this classic man. They've never seen them before. And they're nice, like bullet pointed 30-minute videos, 25-minute videos of movies. And it kind of walks you through the entire movie and you get to see all their reactions to the big moments. I enjoy it a lot.
Is it like when you hear like young people hearing like old music for the first time? Is it similar to that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, very, very much. It's like somebody has no idea that they're in for like one of the craziest movies of all time. And you get to feel like you're experiencing it for the first time because they're experiencing it for the first time.
Okay.
No, I enjoy those videos.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, people said
I
that
will
sounds
say,
creepy. I guarantee you, IR Hoshi sits on Twitch and watches dudes play Fortnite all the time, and he's sitting here. That sounds creepy. Shut up. Yeah, shut up.
No,
I'm a fan IR Hoshi from the chat. If you make,
I do think it is entertaining to watch like a 20-year-old kid listen to like one of, I don't know, like an old school rap song from like the mid 90s and like, oh, this is great. Like I find that entertaining.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool. And it's like, and it's nice because sometimes I'm in a mood to watch like a movie, a classic movie, but it's not, I don't want to sit there for 2 hours and do it. But then I'm like, if I can get a 28-minute synopsis version, I get the gist.
Scratch the itch.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, I was watching somebody react to maybe my favorite movie of all time, probably my favorite movie of all time. And then the itch wasn't good enough. So then I actually went and I'm like, I have to watch the movie. Yeah. So then I watched the movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It was a movie that wasn't very popular when it first came out and has grown into like this cult favorite ever since. I've loved it from the moment it was released. It's called Warrior. It is an MMA movie, and it is not your traditional sports movie. It is raw emotion and family conflict and trauma, and it's everything, right? It'll tearjerker and feel good both at the same time. It's intense, and it stars a man who I wanted to know, how old is he? He goes by the name of Tom Hardy. I'm sure you're familiar with Tom Hardy's work, whether it be in Warrior, whether it be in Mad Max Fury Road or Venom or, The Dark Knight Rises or Bronson, where he also plays a fighter. Tom Hardy knows how to get into character. And how old is Tom Hardy?
I haven't seen any of the movies that you listed.
Haven't seen Venom. Have you seen, let's see, what else is he in?
The Dark Knight Rises.
Blinders?
No.
Okay. Band of Brothers?
Yes, but wait. Band of Brothers is like the is it a series?
It's a TV show.
Okay. I think I've seen bits.
I shouldn't even be giving you stuff like Band of
Brothers. I don't know, but like, this is not going to help me at all. I have no idea. I don't even know.
He's Bane in Batman.
Oh. Is The Dark Knight Rises the same as The Dark Knight?
It's a different movie.
I have not seen so he's
the Dark Knight does not have Bane in it. The Dark Knight Rises has Bane.
Okay. But I can't tell how old somebody is by Bane. Like,
I'm surprised you don't know what he looks like.
I guess I don't even know what year did that? I know The Dark Knight came out in like 2007-ish, 2008, because it was like towards the end of my high school life. So Rising was probably a couple years after that, and that's 15 years ago. I mean, is he 54?
54.
That I don't know. I have no idea.
All right, 54 is the guess. 49 is what Rashid said. 46 is what Eric said. American Toff said 46. Titans Kyle said 48. Ashley said 46. David Brown said 47. We got 59. We got 48. We got 59. We got 47. We got 45. We got 55. We got 51. We got 42. We've got 54, which is wrong.
Oh,
We've
got jeez.
And actually, it was our second comment up here. Eric Castillo, 46 for Tom Hardy. 46. Do you know who Tom Hardy is when I say the name Tom Hardy?
If he walked up to my house right now, I would probably not recognize that as Tom Hardy. I would probably be like, oh, that's like somebody I've seen before. Yeah, no clue. That guy might as well deliver my Amazon package later today. Like doesn't do anything.
That's crazy because I consider Tom Hardy like an A-lister. I think he's like
I don't know. I live under a rock. right? So it does. Yeah, I have no clue.
Well, hey, go watch Warrior. Go watch Warrior. It's a captivating film. Everybody in the chat, listen, here's my challenge. Somebody who hasn't seen Warrior needs to go watch Warrior. And I want to get a DM on Twitter of just saying, hey, I watched Warrior. Here are my thoughts. And that would make my year if I could put one person onto this movie. It's genuinely very, very good. If you like sports movies, it will be one of your favorites. If you don't like sports movies, you might love it anyway. It is, like I said, Nick Nolte is in it. Tom Hardy is in it. Joel Edgerton is in it. Jennifer Morrison is in it. It is a banger of a film.
There you go.
Yep.
Nice. Maybe I'll probably go watch
Let's
it.
see. Somebody asked what streaming site it's on. Let me go find out and figure out.
What'd you watch on last night?
Peacock. So yeah, it's on Peacock or $4 on YouTube.
All right, Eric. Eric says about time. So we've got a new name to go up there. Thank God. I'll text Zach Eric Castillo on the age game.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Burks is a two-time or three-time winner two-time winner. I believe Ann is a two-time winner. Titans Kyle is a three-time winner. And then we're gonna need to get Eric on the leaderboard as well.
So let's go over that again, right? Because we've got Titans Kyle times 3, Ann's
2, Lucas is 2, and we're gonna need to get Eric Castillo on the board.
And Jack.
Jack. I forgot Jack won. Yeah.
All right, so I just texted Zach all of those age game leaderboard updates. So hopefully when I call him here in about 10 minutes that we can knock that out so we can get new age game. All right, well, there we go. All right, Sam, busy show today. Like the show from everybody. Busy show, lots of stuff to get to, so make sure you do that for us. Reacting to the Titans' first preseason game. Joint practices later this week, Wednesday and Thursday. That'll be a crazy couple of days as well. So make sure you hit that like button. Buck Rising live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime. We'll see you again tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock Central Time. Appreciate it as always.